Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 120. Woo, 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 of Carmela's Wrestling Radio Relived. And today we have my friend Jeannie, my beautiful girl, Jeannie. I love you.
Hi, I
And we
love
have
you.
our new regular, Rich. How you
Yes.
doing, honey?
Doing good. How you doing, Carmel and Jeannie?
Good. We
Good.
have today as our guest, I call him the man, the myth, the legend, Chuck Langerman. Let me tell you about this guy real quick. A long time ago, all right, I just was a fan, and he started like talking to me about certain things, and he mentioned that he knew of Jeannie's son's name, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yep.
And he's a math teacher. He taught in New Jersey, and he like just kept going on and on and on. We're going to talk about all that in a little bit, but then he started to get more involved and more involved and more involved. And this man has become such a part of wrestling radio that it's unbelievable. He has been such a big contributor. He is responsible, along with Rich, for getting me inducted into the Women's Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's also submitted my name to a few other ones, which I am beside myself. I don't even know what to say. I mean, thank you doesn't cover it at all. But we're going to bring Chuck on in 1 minute. We're going to talk about 2 seconds about some stuff that's been going on, some news. I don't know if you guys heard about Ludwig Kaiser, who
Yes.
was
What an
recently
ass.
arrested. Yeah, he was arrested. Apparently, again, there's conflicting stories. So
Yeah.
apparently he was on an elevator with his current girlfriend, who seems to be a non-American or Hispanic, let's put it that way. And they were having a physical moment. And another gentleman who was on the elevator apparently was offended by that physical moment. And he either said, if there's two different stories, he either said, have some respect. And supposedly Kaiser punched him, or the other thing was, I'm going to call ICE, and he called the girl bitch. Okay. Then he got pushed around. Now, I don't know which story is correct. I don't know, but I know that there's now multiple stories going around. He was only held on $1,000 bail, apparently, so he's out, obviously. What this is going to do with the WWE at this point, I don't know. So that's something to consider. What do you guys think?
I didn't hear the second version of the story. I only heard that he was very aggressively making out with her.
Right.
And in the elevator, and like when the guy got in, like they didn't stop or whatever, and it made the guy uncomfortable how aggressive he was with her, and said, show some respect or whatever, and get a wait or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the version I read.
Yeah.
But again, who knows?
Yeah.
If that is the version, then that guy, whatever his name is, I don't even know.
Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah, he shouldn't have punched the guy.
No,
now,
there's no reason to punch him.
If it's the second one and said about the ice thing, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, apparently his real name is Marcel Batel, I think it is. Ludwig Kaiser. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. And Rich, if you had anything to say about that, you can now, because we're going to bring Chuck on and see what he has to say about it.
Well, the first thing I would say is, what's he doing that on an elevator when another guy gets on the elevator? So he should have stopped doing it. Okay.
Right.
Now, okay. I mean, like, that's just idiotic.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Tiffany Stratton his girlfriend at one time?
Yep, she was.
No matter that she broke up with him then, right?
Yeah, she did.
Right. I mean, so he shouldn't have even been, as soon as the guy got on the elevator, he should have stopped.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying he should have hit him or shouldn't have hit him or whatever.
Right.
I mean, there should never be violence, but that's stupid.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I have a reputation. Everybody does. In my time, I have done a lot of things. I've been with a lot of men, and I'm not denying it, nothing. But I have never been a proponent of PDA. I've never, ever, ever, ever agreed with public displays of affection, especially if certain people are around. It's none of anybody's business. What you do in private is your business. You can do whatever you want, but it's none of anybody else's business. That's my opinion. So I think he was wrong from the get. He and she were both wrong.
Well, if they were both, and just my opinion, I have no problem seeing somebody, a couple kissing.
Yeah,
and or holding hands or hugging or whatever. That's all fine and dandy. They were alone in an elevator and they were making out. I have no problem with that. But yes, as soon as the doors open, and if it was aggressively, then yes, stop.
Yeah,
go to your floor, get out, and then
knock yourself
out. Your room,
do whatever you want to do. Exactly. Okay, well, I just wanted to talk about that real quick, and then when Chuck comes on, we'll ask him his opinion as well. But let's bring him on. I'm so excited because this guy is a plethora of information. He knows everything about everything. Okay, everything more than I know.
He's a human encyclopedia.
Put it that way. Yes. So let's bring him on. Chuck Langerman. Hi.
Hello.
Woo!
How are you? So good to see you.
Glad to see you all.
Same here.
I taught high school math in South Jersey for 30 years.
I can't hear him.
All right, hold on a minute. Hold on. Can you hear him, Rich?
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
All right, Jeannie, it might be something on your end.
Yeah.
Say something else, Chuck. Go ahead.
Ready? Yeah, I taught high school math in South Jersey for 30 years. And for over 40 years, I kept high school football stats. That's how I knew about Jeannie's son at Cherokee High School.
Okay.
Which is a great place to watch a football game. They call it the Cherokee Bowl.
Yeah.
If I remember, he was number 43, right?
Yes.
Defensive end and
wow.
Yep.
And Cherokee had some pretty good teams back then.
Oh my God. Yeah, they won 2 state championships.
Yeah, I think he played with a player by the name of John Lovett, who played in the NFL.
Yeah.
And is now playing in one of the minor football leagues. But he was one of Cherokee's greatest players.
Or as I used to call him, John number 2, because there was 2 Johns. And so John number 1 lived in our apartment complex, and they were all real good friends, and he was on the football as well. And then John Lovett came in, and so it was John 1, John 2. And I followed his career. Yeah, he was such a good running back.
I grew up in Cheltenham Township, and I started going to high school football games as a kid. I followed a high school halfback for Cheltenham High named Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, of course,
Did you
went on
really
to become a star with the New York Yankees and is a baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, okay.
And he got
Mr. October
in high school football. Yeah, Mr. October, exactly. 537 home runs, something like that.
That is awesome. That's crazy. So you continue to do that then for all these years. That's crazy. So let me ask you, what decided to make you follow this particular podcast?
I had listened to some of the other ones, and I didn't really like them that much. And, you only have a certain amount of time.
Right.
So I started following this one, and you could write in, and you were very receptive to ideas. So I stayed with this one.
Well, it's funny because like we said earlier, you all of a sudden, like out of the clear blue sky, are like, well, this happened. And every time we had a guest coming on, we're like, well, I have a ton of questions, and I have this knowledge, and I have that knowledge. And I'm thinking to myself, we often spoke about you on our podcast and said we could get this guy to be our manager. That would be great, but it's so nice to have you basically do some of our research for us, or I should say most of our research for us. And it's why I've included you now in all the emails, because it's so important to us. And the fact that we're one of the only podcasts that you listen to, that is an honor. It makes me feel great. And I can't thank you enough, first of all, for the effort that you and Rich put into the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I can't tell you how incredibly honored and humbled I am. So I have to thank you publicly for that. I appreciate that more than you know. So tell us some more about how you started going into wrestling. Go ahead.
Growing up, I really I wasn't born into a wrestling family like you were.
Okay.
I mean, your mom and your dad were both fans. My parents were fans.
Right.
Cheltenham was like an upper class suburb of Philadelphia, and we were one of the poorer kids on the block. But you know, a lot of distinguished people grew up around, like right around the corner was Benjamin Netanyahu, who's now the Prime Minister of Israel. He went to Cheltenham High a few years before I did.
Wow.
And he played soccer for the Cheltenham High soccer team. Ironically, he played left wing, which is, you know, not exactly in accordance with his politics nowadays. But there are a lot of different people grew up there. How did I get interested in wrestling? You know, when I grew up in the 60s, you probably remember Rich and Carmela. There were like 3 channels in Philly, 3, 6, and 10. Maybe there was 12 out of Wilmington.
Yep.
And my father got a large antenna installed on the house. And there was a toggle switch on the TV. Mm-hmm. And if you changed it all the way to the north, you could get New York wrestling.
I remember that. Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right.
From Madison Square Garden. Bruno Sammartino, Johnny Valentine.
Right.
I remember a guy, Tarzan Tyler.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Tarzan Tyler.
I used to watch that every Saturday night.
Tarzan Tyler
was tag team champions with Crazy Luke Graham.
Yep.
Crazy Luke Graham.
Yep, that's right. I'm going to cut you off for a second here. Rich, tell us, you told me that Chuck told you some things about you guys having some kind of a similarity in growing up and where you lived and everything. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, you know, once Chuck and I both had each other's email address, he emailed me out of the clear blue sky. And let's see, the first thing you asked me about, I remember the last one was about Temple Stadium and the Jimi Hendrix concert back in the 60s. And you asked me if I was familiar with that. I grew up in Mount Airy, which was not a great section of Philadelphia. Middle class, row houses, you know, again, not a great neighborhood, but not far from Cheltenham. I mean, I'm sure you remember, Chuck. I mean, there, you know, we could get the Gimbals or we could get the EJ Corvette right on Cheltenham Avenue.
Ball, right.
Yeah, exactly. And so Temple Stadium was where the Temple Owls played in Mount Airy, on a street that was probably not even 3/4 of a mile from where I grew up. And Chuck asked me whether I remembered the concert. Well, not only did I remember of the concert, it was so loud I could hear it from my house. And then he emailed me some, I guess, a old school story about a movie theater called the Erlin Theater, I believe, Ogons Avenue. Chuck, was the Erlin on Ogons Avenue?
It's on
Cheltenham Avenue. And he asked me if I was familiar with that, and I had gone to the Erlin movie theater many times. And then I wrote back to Chuck. I said, "Do you remember the Rental Theater, which was the one on Ogons Avenue?" So we were probably kissing cousins as far as almost neighbors are concerned, but the similarities as far as the things that we both grew up around, which obviously don't exist anymore. Temple Stadium is probably, I don't know what's there now. Like, what's there now? Is it just like
church
grass? Oh, it's a church. That's right. You did say that. And the synagogue that I went to, which was at Washington Lane and Limekiln Pike, they turned that into a church. There was a library, West Oak Lane Library, right across the street, off of Washington Lane and Limekiln Pike. And so, like, these are areas in between Mount Airy and Cheltenham that we both kind of grew up in. And Chuck, I mean, I don't like to talk how old I feel or am, but you and I are the same age.
Yeah, so you're class of 74, I'm class of 73, and Carmela's class of 75. So we're all in the same era there.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it'll be 51 years since I graduated high school. And again, thank you, Chuck, again, because they did a beautiful article on me, my old alma mater. And they actually asked me if I would go speak at the school next year. So that's also a big honor. I don't know exactly how many out of 3,000 girls would be interested in wrestling, but when I was doing it, when I was in school and I did all the wrestling, the talking, and this guy was at my house and they had dinner at my house and this and that and all that, it was like, they hated it. You know, some of the girls thought it was cool because I knew people, but the other girls were like, "Oh my God, you know, how could you like wrestling? You must really be a man." And I was like,
well, you wouldn't be talking about wrestling or getting girls involved. Like, I mean, they very well could be. I mean, if it's an alumni, there's no way because they're, you know, not physically able to. But it would just be your time at the school and how you got into broadcasting was through wrestling. But that's what you would be talking about, not wrestling.
Oh, I would do all that, but I turn it into the wrestling too. I mean, I think I would, you know, just to that's what I love, you know, that and the broadcasting.
Story of how a female survived in the male-dominated sport of pro wrestling.
That's true. Yep,
that's one of the main themes there.
That's true as well. Now, Chuck, you said earlier that you had some notes written down and things that you wanted to talk about. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. I didn't get into wrestling. I was a late bloomer. I mean, you were born into it, but I was a late bloomer. And, you know, during high school and college, you just had to study to survive and you were doing other things. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until like the 1980s where I sort of became interested in wrestling. There was one time that I went to a wrestling match back in 1974. Now that I'm thinking about it, my family lived in Richmond, Virginia for a while. And I can actually say the first wrestling match I went to was a WWF card. I worked. I was selling sodas, going around the arena. You know, they give you a certain amount of sodas and they say, bring this money back, this amount of money back.
Right.
And it was bizarre. In those times, the wrestlers for the next match would be standing out by the crowd. They wouldn't be in the locker room and then come out.
Right.
And I think I had mentioned this before. The main event that night was Sweet Hansen versus Chuck O'Connor, who was John Studd. And I think O'Connor won with a roll-up. And then on the way home, I was going home with my brother down Broad Street, and I saw him in the same car. And that can't be. That was the end of kayfabe for me.
Yeah, I bet it was. That's crazy. Well, you know, they did do that when back then when you're talking about, wrestlers did come out of the back and kind of hung out. Well, they did that in Hamburg and Allentown too. They were out there talking to us all the time. Well, not everybody was allowed back there. Let's put it that way. But I was, and we went back there. We were sitting on the bleachers with them. At the time, I was sitting with Ivan like all the time. And later on, when it started, kayfabe was still going on, but later on, when it started to become more like they didn't want the wrestlers to associate with the fans that much, you could see them standing in the back by the curtain. They would just open the curtain up or pull it on to one side and peek out, you know, and they would still watch the matches. But they used to hang out with the people constantly until they made them stop, and then they would just kind of peek, and you'd see a head, you know, coming out or whatever. And then now, of course, you know, they can't at all. You know?
Well, they got monitors backstage now so they can watch.
Yeah.
So where they didn't back then.
Yeah. And I think even if they could come out and see the people during a match or whatever, number one, it would distract from the match greatly. But I don't think they really want to do it anymore. Years ago, it was different, you know.
Yeah.
It made them feel good.
What really got me involved in the wrestling in the 80s was Joel Goodhart's radio show. Because my friend Mark Narducci had the sports high school show that was from 9 to 12. And Joel was on from 8 to 9. So I used to catch the end of his show. And then I started listening to it. And
what radio station was that on?
WIP.
Okay.
That was on WIP in Philadelphia. And Joel was on from 8 to 9.
Right.
So one day, Joel was advertising a bus trip to the Baltimore Arena, NWA. And I've never done anything like that. So I figured I'll go to that. I did my lesson plans for Monday and was all set. Drove over to the Roosevelt Mall. And there was the first time I met Joel. There were a few fans there. There was a girl named Marla there, either his girlfriend or his
That was
wife.
his girlfriend. Yeah, it was his wife, girlfriend at the time, I think. I don't think he was married to her then.
But anyway, we waited an hour and a half and the bus no-showed us. And that was my introduction. But I didn't get discouraged.
Oh
I
my
ended up
God.
going on a bus trip to New York to see Herb Abrams' promotion, which is with a hotel up there. And then there was a long one over to Salisbury, Maryland, WCW TV taping. So I did get to go on some of the buses, but the first one was a no-show.
That's funny. Joel and I only did a couple of shows on WIP with Joel, and then we had parted ways at that point. But yeah, he was on WIP for a while once we separated. So he did well. Like I said, he did well with everything that he did on his own. He's a legend himself. By the way, are you going to go, or is everybody here going to go to the documentary viewing? Yeah, the movie. Yes. Are you coming, Chuck?
I'm thinking of going in Ambler, right?
Yeah.
In Ambler, yeah. As a matter of fact, Rich, you can't. You live too far.
Yeah, I live too far away. Now, if I lived in that area, it would be a 30-minute drive still, you know?
Yeah, he lives in Poughkeepsie, Iowa now, so you may as well, right? It's too far away.
Please.
I went to a lot of Joel's shows over the years, and I can say I never left the show disappointed. I mean, he put on a good product. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it just wasn't for everyone.
Right, exactly.
And he was paying, some large fees to bring in some name wrestlers. So
well, it's funny.
Work out financially.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because we were talking at my job today about what happened this week at AEW. I don't know if you watched it, Chuck. I know, Rich, you did. Did you watch AEW Wednesday night?
I saw some of it, yes.
Okay, that match.
I actually saw some.
Oh, that match between Mark Briscoe and Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like a street fight. They brought in cheese graters. There was a point, where Tommaso Ciampa took paper off the desk, put it on Mark Briscoe's head, and stapled
with a staple gun
to his head. And Mark Briscoe's walking around the ring with this hat of paper. It stuck to his head. I was like, of course it probably stuck because his head was sweating and bloody. But I mean, oh my God, it was unbelievable. The stuff that they did to each other was prime. Okay. And they were saying at my job today, a couple of the officers I spoke with were like, oh my God, that reminded me of the ECW stuff, and the Joel stuff. But it was unbelievable. And I got to be honest with you. I think Sunday is the pay-per-view with AEW Double or Nothing. Now the thing with Will Ospreay now, him and the Death Riders and all, and he said Wednesday night that he is now a killer. Okay. He's not part of Death Riders, but he's now a killer, and they made him what he is. And he's very specific too about saying that he's very proud that WWE did not make him like they made other people. He made himself. And that I got to agree with. He did most of this on his own, but he did it through New Japan Wrestling. But anyway, that you brought up ECW and all that stuff and TWA and all that stuff. And that reminded me of that match. That match was brutal. It was so brutal.
Yes, the Briscoe brothers, I saw them debut at the ECW arena when they were with CZW as 17-year-olds. They were high school football players.
Oh my God. Really?
The father was the head coach of the team, and they got into wrestling. And they were very good. I mean, for their first matches, unbelievable. CZW was a slice and dice promotion, but there's a lot of guys in the big time. John Moxley wrestled there. The Briscoe brothers wrestled there. Eddie Kingston wrestled there.
Wow.
And I saw a death match show in Delaware. MJF was on the card.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Not in a death match, but he was on the card. He was called Michael Feinstein. Everyone thought it was a rib on Rob Feinstein. I don't know if it was or not, but I saw him wrestle in CZW too.
Wow. How old was he? Like 4?
I have a question for Jeannie.
Go ahead.
Jeannie, so you watched AEW. So normally you say you don't watch the current stuff. So what did you think of it?
Well, I didn't watch the whole thing, full disclosure. I watched the beginning because I thought, well, let me see what's going on. And then they, it was also supposed to be Mick Foley was going to be there. And I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. Let me see what's going on. And so I did. And I watched the beginning, and I was flipping back and forth between that and Survivor season finale. So I didn't see everything, but I did see that one match. And then what was the other match that I saw? I can't even remember. But I only caught like a couple of things. And again, I like it better than Raw or SmackDown or all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The hardcore stuff, it was, I can appreciate the like what they're doing for the fans, but I hate it that they're doing it to their own bodies, and it's just not worth it in the long run. So I don't. Yeah, there's a conflict. I mean, it was entertaining, I guess, but I don't enjoy those matches anymore because I've seen the results of guys that have done that, and it's it's crazy. Plus, granted, they're getting paid a lot more in AEW, where the independents, you get an extra $25, you get $50, right, and then you get an extra 25 for doing. Like, no, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
But you also have to understand these guys are young and they're hungry, and that to them, acting the way they do in the independents or willing to do it, hopefully brings them to a bigger place later on. I think that's their mindset on that. Yeah. But I think there's going to be
the other match that I saw was the three-way with Jericho and the Young Bucks and the Don Callis family, whatever,
right?
Whatever they're called.
Okay.
I only saw bits and pieces of that, but
what do you think is going to happen? I just want to run this by you guys. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday with? First of all, Darby Allin is somebody who's literally killing himself. I'm just putting that out there. Okay, he's defending his championship way too often, and he's way too sick and tired by the time it's over. But he's going to go against MJF for a hair versus title match. What do you guys think is going to happen? Rich, you go first. What do you think?
I think MJF's going to win the belt back because I don't think there's any way that he's going to have his head shaved. And no. I think it would be very, very stupid if Darby Allin won and MJF somehow found a way to weasel out of getting his head shaved. And hopefully their storyline would not go that route. So I'm going to stick with MJF wins the belt. Yeah, you're right. But Darby Allin's defending the belt every week. I mean, he's had his go at it. And he was doing the same kind of stuff even before he had the belt.
Yeah.
I do not see MJF getting his head shaved.
All right. Especially not after all the plugs. I don't see that either. Chuck, what do you think?
I agree with Rich. I don't think he's going to shave his head.
No, I don't either. If in fact, and it looks like he did, if in fact he did have hair reconstruction, there's no way he's going to get that shaved. Jeannie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll win dishonestly, shall we say. It's not going to be a clean pin or a clean, submission or whatever. It's going to be, something. And then he'll win. He'll win the belt. But yeah, that's just, but who knows? You never know. But
it's unanimous, I think, tonight. Chuck, let me ask you a question. What, if you had to pick right now between AEW and WWE, what would you say about either of them or both of them?
Definitely AEW. That appeals to me a lot more with the better athletes and all.
Yeah, it does. It's different because they're not, they do a lot of high spots, yes, but it's not so much acrobatic as it is in WWE. They do a lot more. And in my opinion, they tend to go back a little bit more old school. And I think that's what attracts me to them more than WWE. They seem to go into the older way of doing things with a lot of, techniques that remind me of old school. Chuck, Rich, what do you think?
Um, I prefer WWE, and I think you would ask me that before. I think AEW, um, as it is obviously, I guess now the number two promotion. I still think they got a long way to go. I think Tony Khan is doing his own fantasy booking as a kid. And then Chuck, if you have any way of getting a hold of Tony Khan, you need to let him know that Carmel and I have been talking that if he were to hire us as contractors to do his booking, then there might be a chance that he might do better. But I think that Tony Khan's out there living his boy fantasy, and is doing his own booking and not and I have issues with AEW with some of their storylines, not making sense or being stupid. Not to say WWE doesn't have their faults, but I prefer WWE.
Okay. Chuck, if anybody can do that, you can. I think you are the epitome of research, the epitome of somebody who can actually get the job done. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to go public with this. All right. I think you got me beat. I do. I really think you got me beat as far as being able to get things done and being able to get the result that you want in things that you do. Is this like a power or something that you have?
No, I just know a lot of people.
You sure do. You must know a whole hell of a lot of people, because like everything, Chuck goes like this and it happens. I'm telling you, like he'll send me an email and say, oh, by the way, I did this and this is what I'm like, what? You kidding me? You know, like I sent him, and we're not going to talk about this specific, Chuck, because you know what I'm getting at. But there's something else that Chuck, and I think Rich, you did too, had nominated me for. And I saw something was written about me somewhere or whatever, and I saw it and I sent it to Chuck, or I told Chuck about it, or Chuck told me about it or whatever. And I said, it would be great if they could read it too. And he goes, I already sent it to him. I'm like, oh my God. Like he's so good at what he does, and he is exemplary in every aspect. Like he'll write stuff to me, and everybody knows that I am not allowed to see my granddaughter, and she is 16 years old and she's playing softball. And he sends me updates on her like there's no tomorrow. And of course, I read them and I cry, and then I read them and I thank them. And she is amazing at what she's doing right now. And
she has a batting average over 400 now.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. She is doing. I mean, I believe it.
Sophomores in New Jersey.
Wow, God bless her. She's a sophomore, and she's on a senior team, I think you said.
She's on a senior dominated team. The thing about her that's great is she's a tremendous student. She's an honor roll student.
She's an honor
student.
She has
a lot of colleges after her, even though she's only a 10th grader.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Unbelievable. And I'm so proud of her. And if anybody hears this and sees her or whatever, please tell her that her Nonna loves her always. But that's a whole nother cup of coffee. Anyway, so tell us something else about you, Chuck. About
I was going to say another thing that got me into the wrestling was going to a lot of the independent shows.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a show, my first one in Jersey. I think you were there, Carmela, too. Rumble at the River, where Hanson and Funk wrestled. It was a Larry Sharp, Dennis Carluzzo.
Okay,
yeah, that was really something. The Pitbulls were fresh out of Larry Sharp's school. They were there. The first match was Chris Candido.
Wow.
Tammy was sitting in the first row versus Jungle Jim McPherson from Salem, New Jersey. I remember that.
God.
And I saw Candido. I said, this guy's pretty good. Yeah. And he was just a teenager who was painting houses at the time, had just graduated from Red Bank Catholic High School and really didn't have, direction, but was just starting out in wrestling.
Did you ever meet or did you know Dennis Carluzzo?
Yeah. You want to hear a Dennis Carluzzo story?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I can give you the date. December 18th, 1995. Dennis Carluzzo, myself, and a guy named Frank Chili, who you know, Jeannie, very
Oh my
good.
God, yes.
Frankie the Thumper.
Frankie the Thumper. We love him.
In fact, I picked Frank up at his house in Blackwood because I was living in Runnymede at the time. And we went down to the Carpenter complex in Newark, Delaware. So in the University of Delaware, where they were having the Raw that night, WWE Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So we pull into the parking lot, and I said, Dennis, the front is this is over here because I'd been at some basketball games there. And he said, no. Said, no, Chuck, we're going to backdoor it. So he parks his car at a no parking zone in the back of the building, opens one door, and there's the locker room. They're all in there, all the boys. Bob Holly, X-Pac, all of them are right there. Because it was a small gymnasium, so you could get access that way. And here we are in the locker room at a I guess, F back then. And I had a beautiful spread of cold cuts and food. I helped myself to some chocolate chip cookies. I mean, we weren't supposed to be there, but Frank knew a lot of the wrestlers. He was talking to them. Finally, the road agent comes over to us. It was George the Animal Steel dressed up.
Oh, my God.
With a tie on. And he very nicely gave us comp tickets, and we sat outside with the other wrestlers. Like Tom Brandy was there that night in a three-piece suit because he was campaigning for a job. So was the late Rock and Rebel. I remember him. They told him, "Don't call us, we'll call you."
A lot of people told him
they knew.
But Brandy got a job. He wrestled at South 6 year in the WWF.
Yes.
But anyway, the big thing that happened that night was Medusa had left the WWF and she took the belt to WCW.
Right.
And right on TV, Bischoff got her to trash it.
Yeah, we saw that one. Yep.
And they were going crazy in the locker room when they saw that. I mean, they were very, very upset. It was unbelievable.
That's crazy. Wow, that is crazy.
And after the card that night, Dennis says, "Why don't we go to Denny's right down the street?"
Yeah.
And we got a table at Denny's. It was me, Frank, Dennis, Jerry Lawler joined us, and Jim Cornette.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Now, Cornette was, going off about Medusa. In fact, he said some, very unpleasant things about her, which I won't repeat on the podcast, but he was very upset. Anyway, that night we had a male server. For some reason, there were a bunch of male servers at Denny's. And a bunch of them were to the side, and they're talking about, all the fake wrestlers are here and this and that. And it caught Lawler's ear. And he just couldn't take it. He started cursing at him and yelling, cutting a promo at him. I really thought there was going to be a fight.
Wow.
Right in the Denny's there between the waiters and Lawler and the Carluzzo. And then at the counter was Bret Hart and Duke the Dumpster was there.
Oh, my God.
JJ was there with a lady. He was sitting right next to us. I was surprised that there wasn't a fight. I mean,
wow, that took a lot of guts to talk like that about wrestling with all those wrestlers there.
Yeah.
Wow, that
wasn't too smart. So anyway, It's 1:00 in the morning. I'm a teacher. I was going to teach a lesson on the Pythagorean theorem the next day. You remember the Pythagorean theorem from geometry? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And it's 1:00 in the morning. I got to be there at 7:30.
Right.
So anyway, we didn't get out of Denny's until about 2:30 or so. And then on the way home, Dennis, who doesn't follow many rules, was going about 95 miles per hour on the 295 north. All of a sudden, there's a cop car behind us.
Oh, my God.
Pulls us over. And Dennis starts to say, "I got urinary incontinence. I was pissing in my pants." He starts taking fraternal order of police cards out and starts handing it to the cop. The cop throws up his hands and says, "I'm out of here."
Oh, my, did it really? Are you kidding me?
Never got a ticket.
You know what? It doesn't surprise me. That sounds exactly like Dennis. I love Dennis. That sounds just like him. Wow. That's a great story, Chuck.
I ended up taking Frank Chili home. It was 3:30. I got like 2 hours sleep. And I taught my lesson the next day. And I lucked out because there was an ice storm. And when I started to drag about noontime, they dismissed us early.
Oh, so wow. You went home and went to bed. That is so cool.
But
wow.
It was something being in that locker room with all those WWF guys.
I'm telling you, see, this is why I said that wrestling, once it's in your blood, it's in there. That's how they start. You go somewhere, you meet them, you hang out with them, you hang out again, you stay up all night, blah, blah, blah. And it happens the next time, then it happens again and again. And you're like, forget it. It's just part of me now. And that's the end of it, and it never goes away.
Another independent story, which I think it was like this Memorial Day weekend, 1993, I went down to an independent card in Buena Vista campgrounds on the way to Atlantic City.
Okay.
And I met two people from the media there that night. It was funny. I go in there and this lady comes up to me before the car and she's eating a popsicle and she introduces herself to me and she says, "Hello, my name is Sally Starr." Remember Sally Starr on TV?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
She was there to see the wrestling. And she
Are
was
you
staying
kidding me?
in the campground.
Sally
my
Starr
God.
was my introduction to the Three Stooges.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Our gal Sal. Oh my
Our
God.
gal Sal.
Chuck,
My mom actually met her one time, and I think I have it. It's in a photo album, family photo album, of Sally's autographed picture of Sally Starr that she gave to my mom.
Wow. She
And
was
also
something.
that night, I met a high school student from Strathaven High School named John Clark. Both Jeannie and I get his Facebook.
Wow.
He's a big sportscaster in Philadelphia now.
Yeah.
So
Chuck, I don't
I have a
know.
question-
I go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry.
I have a question
He had
for you.
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say he had a newsletter. John Clark is a high school kid called
Okay.
the Wrestling Flyer, and
Okay.
all it was interviews. He used to call these wrestlers up at 3:00 in the morning, to avoid pay phone charges.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would do interviews. It was very
Oh my
unique.
God. That's crazy.
So,
Rich, what was your question?
Yeah, I have a question for Chuck. So going back to our younger days, did you ever go on the Wee Willie Weber Colorful Cartoon Club at the Channel 17 studios on Ivy
I
Hill Road?
used to see it on TV. I never went there now.
Okay, I went there one time, which was, I was a kid, so it was a great experience because I could walk there from my house.
That's funny.
What
I
was the name of the one? Alzheimer's is horrible. I can't remember. There was a kids show.
Chief Halftown?
No.
Gene London?
No.
Gene London? No.
No.
Captain Noah?
No.
What did he look like?
And they had oh God. They would bring on little kids, and the girls were all dressed up in fancy dresses, and they would let them sing or dance or whatever. What the heck? I can't think of it. I went to one of those tapings.
Who was the star?
Sitting in the audience. Now I can't remember his name. It was a man.
What did he look like?
Oh God.
Was it
don't know.
Stubby
Dark
K?
hair.
Was it? Was it
Huh?
Stubby K? Stubby
No.
K? Shenanigans? No, I'm trying to
No.
think. I don't know, Jeannie. I can't think.
Because it was taped at the Channel 6 WIP studios.
Will Weber. Was it the Willie Weber show?
No. Wait a minute. Weber?
Weber. Bill Weber. Wee Willie Weber it was called.
Well, that's
Soupy
what.
Sales?
Well, that was the child.
Yeah, Stoopy Sales, maybe?
No. I think it was Weber, but it wasn't Wee Willie Weber. I think it was just.
I think
Bill
he was
Weber?
known as Bill Weber before he became Wee
Weber.
Willie Weber.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He was Bill Weber first.
So this was like in 70. We moved up to Ben Salem in 75, 76.
I don't know how you people, all of you, and the wrestlers remember dates. I'm like I remember the dates when my kids were born. I remember the date I was born. That's about it, man. It's crazy. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't remember dates to save my life ever. But I was going to say something else. Oh, I used to work the Jerry Lewis Telethon every year, and I met Dave Roberts from Channel 6. I think.
Channel 6.
Yeah.
6, yeah.
Yeah, and his son played Angel on the Buffy show. Yeah, so I got to meet his, and it's funny because Dave Roberts was talking to me, and he was telling me that his mom, her name was Carmela, and so that's how we got friendly. And I used to see him every time I went. We were really good friends, like when I was there, of course.
I can't believe you would work at Jerry Lewis Telethon.
I hated Jerry
the
Lewis.
man.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can't stand him. I hated him. But the thing was, the telethon was a good thing until I realized years later what was really going on with the shenanigans of that place and how Jerry Lewis turned out to be a real ass involved in the whole thing. And he was such a, oh God, I don't regret doing it because at the time I felt like it was for a good cause,
Right.
and I did it wholeheartedly. And then I later on, like I said, in later years, I found out how he abused the money, he abused the show, and he abused the people. The money that was supposed to go to the people that were sick. So that was horrific. I never liked him at all, and I hated him even more after that. But go ahead, Chuck. I'm sure you got more.
I was going to say two trivia things I was thinking of. Joey Bishop, he went to the same high school in New Jersey as Boris Malenko, Irvington High School.
Really?
Yeah, in North Jersey. And when Joel left WIP, the person that took over his hour was a high school kid from Plymouth Whitemarsh, who's now one of the richest billionaires in the state of Pennsylvania, Michael Rubin. He owns part of the Sixers and a bunch of teams and things like that. He took over the spot for Joel. He had a ski show.
No kidding. How did he make his millions or billions or whatever?
He had a lot of different companies. He only went to college for a few years because his parents forced him, but he was very, very intelligent. He was an excellent businessman.
Wow, there you go, right there. That's what does it. Wow, Chuck, I can't believe all the stuff you know. Like, this is crazy. And you worked. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you were a bum all your life and just did nothing but read. But you
now,
worked.
Chuck, I have a question. So because you remind me of my son Nicholas a little bit. Like my son, very into sports, all sports. Like he like obsessed. But we always told him when he was little, in elementary school, that he probably should become like a statistician because he like knew baseball and stats and what the guy did and all this kind of stuff. Is that how you got into it? Like as a kid, and being a math teacher and stuff like?
Yeah, being a math teacher, and I used to cover some football games for the Camden Courier Post.
Well, but when you were little, were you like?
Yeah, I always followed sports.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my parents, my father was into sports, so he would take me to some sporting events and things like that.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I have some school stories that are a little funny that you might find interesting. I taught for 30 years, and a lot of the kids followed wrestling. And I had this one kid in my algebra class named Arnold. He was a special ed kid from Camden. And Arnold loved King Kong Bundy. That was his famous wrestler. I made the mistake one day of telling him that Bundy was from South Jersey. He went to Washington Township High School, graduated in 1975, and came in third in the state in the heavyweight division. I think it was super heavyweight for him. And what I didn't think he would do is he got a phone book out of the library of Gloucester County phone book, and he looked up Bundy's number because he was living in Mansfield.
He knew his real name?
Yeah, I told Chris.
Oh, okay.
Chris
yeah.
Pallies, yeah.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about him. I was saying, he was such a great wrestling star. Anyway, he called up his home phone back then. Bundy didn't answer, but he left a message that he was wondering if Bundy could buy him a car. He needed a car.
God.
Thinking he's a sports athlete with a lot of money that he could buy him a car. Anyway, Bundy gets the message, and he thinks some of the boys are ribbing him.
My God.
He didn't really believe it was a kid. He called him back on the phone and spoke to him about that. And said, no, you shouldn't be asking me for a car. You should talk to your parents about that.
Oh, my God.
And
he didn't work.
Got all around school. The assistant principal found out about it. He called him down to his office and chewed him out. I mean, making a fool of himself doing something like that. And it has a bittersweet ending because there was an expo at the Pennsauken Wrestling Expo at the Pennsauken Expo, where the Pennsauken Mart used to be. And I was there talking to Bundy, and in walks Arnold. He expects to get an autograph from his hero.
Oh, my
Bundy
God.
wouldn't sign it for him. He wanted to teach him a lesson. You don't go after professional athletes for free cars and things like that.
Yeah, but maybe if he had asked Elvis probably would have given it to him. I believe that wholeheartedly because he did that a lot. But that's crazy. What other school stories do you have for wrestling?
I remember we had a pep rally one day in ninth period, to see the wrestling team wrestle. And there's a little girl in my 9th period class, she comes up to me and says, "Mr. Langerman, where are the ropes?"
Oh my God.
She thought it was
She
going to
wanted
be
to see the
professional
ropes.
wrestling.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
the ropes? I had to sit her down on
Oh.
the bench and explain it to her. This was amateur wrestling,
Oh,
not professional wrestling.
right. That's
And
cute.
another time, I used to teach percentage in my basic math class, and I would teach percent of increase and decrease using a formula and using a Hulk Hogan story about how he used to be a 200-pound unemployed rock musician who started eating a few meals a day and started doing steroids and became, 300 pounds. And I would have them figure out the percent of increase. This girl named Sabrina starts crying in class. I said, "What's wrong, Sabrina? Hulk Hogan did steroids?" She couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but he denied doing it, but he did. That's funny. That is so funny. It's funny now that you brought up steroids. I'm trying to throw some wrestling stuff in here. There actually, I don't know if I said this at the last podcast or not, but there actually is an interview with Ivan that he agreed. He finally admitted that he did steroids, and he said that he had to because in his mind, he had to do the steroids to keep up with the other guys who were getting so big. He was already short, number one. And number two, he didn't have the actual build for what he wanted without a little bit of enhancement. He says he didn't take a lot, but from what I saw in the bathroom that night, he was taking a whole lot. And, but he did admit, one of the few wrestlers that clearly outright admitted that he took steroids. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
I could throw some Stan the Fan stories out there.
Oh my God! Did you know him
at the ECW arena?
Did you know him?
His mother.
His mother's name was Carmella too.
Was it really?
Yeah,
okay.
It was.
Anyway, they heard that I was going to take a trip up to Central Jersey to see Iron Mike Sharp's wrestling school.
Okay.
And so they begged me, can you take us? Can you take us? I said, okay, take the high-speed line over to South Jersey. I'll pick you up at the Ashland station. So I did. I picked them up at the Ashland station. We took Route 70 out to Mike Sharp's school, and he had a show there night. Mostly independent wrestlers, Rick Ratchet, guys I probably forget about, Bob Piper, Robbie Piper. Remember the Bucci brothers? One of them was in the WWE.
I think
Simon
so.
Dean.
Yeah.
Simon Dean.
Okay.
That was Mike Bucci, and then Donnie Bucci was he was a manager. So we watched the show. I even took him out for dinner that night. I treated him nice.
Aww.
And we come home, and back then I had a 76 Camaro, and I drop him off at the high speed line station. I get home, I go in. The next morning, I come out to clean out my car. Stan's mom was sitting in the back, and in the back seat, there looked like there was a Tootsie Roll. But I was careful. I got a tissue, took it,
I know
smelled it. It wasn't a tissue roll. It wasn't a Tootsie Roll. She had taken a dump in my car. And that was the last time she was in my car. May she rest.
Why was she still in the car? Why didn't she leave?
No, she wasn't still in the car. He said she had been in the back.
She left a present for me.
Oh,
yeah, she wasn't. I thought that at first in the beginning too. But wow. Now my question.
I guess she had trouble controlling her bowels or something.
My question is this though, okay, and being a woman, okay, who's older, my question is this: was it cold out or was it hot?
It was hot.
Okay. I personally am trying to envision this. Okay. How is that even possible that happened? I mean, I'm sure she was dressed. Had to have something on.
It wasn't a Tootsie Roll. I can tell you that. I smelled it.
But,
they were nice people. They meant well.
Could have been what, Rich?
Could have been a Butterfinger. Chuck, I have a question for Chuck. You mentioned in the very beginning that you listen to various wrestling podcasts or watch various wrestling podcasts, and you decided that you didn't like them, and Carmela's is the one that is really the only one you watch now. I'm just curious, if you don't mind saying, what are the other podcasts? Because I watch a lot of different wrestling podcasts, and I have my own opinions on most of the ones I don't like. So I'm just curious, which ones that you watched that you didn't like?
I used to listen to Brian Last 605 podcast with Jim Cornette, and
Right.
Brian makes a lot of money from that with the advertising and all.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing he does. And I would ask a lot of questions, and he would ask Cornette on the air,
Mm-hmm.
and he liked my questions. And then one day I got, I guess, a little bit wise with one of my questions. That they were bashing Dave Meltzer a lot.
Okay.
And they got into a little bit of a
a lot of people do that. Yeah.
And I said to on the computer, I sent him a question, and it was a legitimate question, a little bit of a wise question. I said, does Jim Cornette still get a comp from Meltzer? Because he comps a lot of different people. And after that, they would no longer take my questions.
Really? Oh my God.
That's a legitimate
crazy.
question, but that's what I was trying to be a
crazy.
wise guy. So
Oh
I don't
my
listen to them
God.
anymore. But yeah, he makes a lot of money. Cornette claims he makes more money on that show than he ever made in WWE or the NWA or whatever.
I'll tell you what, I believe it, but I got to tell you, Chuck, if the day ever came where this show made money, I'd be like beside myself happy. I don't ever see that happening, but you know what? I'm still happy doing it. I love this podcast, and I love doing it, and I love meeting people like you on this podcast, because you have to understand, every time you meet somebody, it's an experience, it's a lesson, it's a season or a lifetime, depending on how they stay in your life. And meeting you, I got to be honest with you, we have never met in person yet, but talking to you has been truly one of the better experiences that I've experienced in my very recent years of wrestling. It's like you are an amazing man who does so much, and so much, and so many people, and you automatically just do things for people. Like, nobody has to ask you. If you think it's something that somebody needs or somebody can use, or you can help them in some way, you just do it, like you did with me. And I'm like beside myself happy about that. That is like, you're such a good man.
I mean, you spent 62 years in pro wrestling. You deserve to be recognized.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. My daughter said to me, I have to tell you, this is funny. My daughter said to me, when I mention your name all the time at home, and she's like, how do you know this guy? And I said, to be honest with you, I don't know. He just started talking and started sending me stuff, and we became friends. And she's like, is he okay? Is he legit? And I'm like, yeah, I think he is, honey. He's fine. And she's like, are you sure? Jeannie, my daughter, she gets upset about everything. And she says, are you sure? And I said, yeah. Does he know where we live? I said, yeah, he does. I said, the whole world knows where we live. I said, it's fine. We're good. And she's like, okay, just checking. Just want to make sure. I said, no, man, Chuck is the best. He is the best in the world. You are like unbelievable. I would like, honestly, I mean, we can talk forever. I'm fine with that. But I would like to ask you now if you would come back.
Sure. I have a lot more stories to tell.
Oh,
from
my
the
God.
ECW days.
I want you to come back.
I went to a lot of ECW shows back, and that was a special era.
Yeah, it really was. Did you like the ECW better than the TWA, or do you find that they had a lot in comparison, a lot in common?
They had a lot in common. I mean, obviously the ECW had brought in bigger stars, and they had TV. That was the big difference.
Yeah.
Joel never had TV.
Right, exactly. Were you at the May 3rd show?
No.
Okay.
I don't get out as much as I used to with the wrestling shows.
Mm-hmm.
Since I moved to Mount Laurel, I used to live in Runnymede, which was a good location to see a lot of different shows. Yeah, because I was only 5 miles from the ECW arena back then.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you ever go to wrestling now at all?
Occasionally, but I haven't been there in a while. I like this, independent shows, things like that.
Well, I I honestly hope that you can come with us to Joel's documentary debut, because I would love to meet you, first of all. And secondly, I think it's going to be really good. I really see a lot of good
Well,
things
you're
coming
not
out of it.
far from me, Chuck. So, I mean, if
Yeah.
you want to carpool together, I have no problem coming and getting you and heading on down. Not a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that'd be
Ambler
cool.
Theater. I've been there before for a movie. That's a nice little theater,
Yeah.
neighborhood
Well,
theater in the
actually,
main
the
street there.
Ambler Theater is past my house. You guys got to come up here. So maybe what we can do is we can all jump in the same car and go together, because Ambler,
How is that up your way?
well, I guess I'm going from where I live. My cousin used to live in Ambler. So I would just take
Well,
the
it's by Joel. We know where Joel is, and
You could go
Well,
right over the Turnpike Bridge and go up the Turnpike to get
yeah,
there
but
to Ambler.
Joel's closer to me than he is to you, isn't he, Jeannie?
from my house to Joel's, it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay, from my house to Joel's about 40 minutes,
No, it's not.
45, depending on the way
No,
I
it's
drive.
over an hour.
Is it really? I didn't think it was. Oh, well, I don't know. But I guess I'm just going by my geographic area. So I would just hop on the Turnpike, which is almost around a corner from me, and just go that way. My cousin used to live in Ambler, so that's why I.
And the Turnpike, the Jersey Turnpike, is right by where Chuck lives, because I used to live in that area.
All right. Yeah, so you guys can hop on the Turnpike there. I always keep thinking, yeah, and everybody has to get on the Turnpike where I live. But that's cool. We can do that. We'll meet there. That'd be great. Rich, again, I'm sorry you can't come. Can't you make an exception?
When is it?
It is
July 12th.
July 12th. It's a weekend. Bring Harry.
Maybe I can make the trip. It's probably maybe 3.5 hours. So let me see what I could do on that. Okay.
Bring Harriet. She'll have a great time. We'll love her.
Thank you.
I don't know if she'll like a 3.5 hour car ride each way, but 6-7 hours in the car.
Chuck, are you married?
No.
All right. So Chuck, you got two beautiful single women here on this podcast.
Oh, wait a minute. He's not single. He's not married, but he's not single either.
I have a girlfriend.
Janine, is she there?
Well,
let her come over and say hi. Is she there?
She's upstairs. She hurt her calf the other day.
Yeah, you were saying that. Yeah. How's she doing?
She's doing crutches, yeah.
Well,
Rich, don't say I didn't try the match. Well, don't say I didn't try matchmaking on your podcast.
Rich, I can only speak for myself, but those days are long gone for me. I have zero interest in meeting anybody, dating anybody. No. Now,
I, on the other hand, do not feel the same way as Jeannie does. I still have a lot of interest in a lot of things.
Have a lot of peace. No offense to the gentlemen, but men, you suck.
Well, a lot of men do. I agree with that. And I have
the majority of men do.
And
there are some good ones. There are some good ones,
right?
But
there's also a lot of women who suck too. Right.
So it works both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I still enjoy stuff. I mean, I do. I still enjoy stuff. I'm not dead. I'm old, but I'm not dead.
God bless you. And like I said before, we started, it's better you than me.
Well, but with me, go ahead, Rich.
Okay, I'll just say this real quick. This is Jeannie talking, who previously said she would never, ever watch the current wrestling product, and she just watched AEW. So I'm using that as in reference to never say never.
You never know. You never know. Somebody comes over.
Well, no, I said I just wasn't interested, so I'm not going to watch it. I don't think I ever said never. If I did, then my bad. I just said I don't have, and even now I'm like, like I have zero interest in WWE. Zero. Like,
yeah.
One story would interest you, since you went to Ben Salem High.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a card one day at the Thomas Neil Armstrong Middle School.
Yes.
In Ben Salem, which is where Ben Salem High played their basketball games.
Yes.
Anyway, it was a independent show, And that was the first time Eddie Gilbert and Mick Foley or Cactus Jack wrestled.
Oh,
And they were
wow.
all over the building. I mean, it was amazing. Then Joel had them later on. But what I remember about that night, after the match was over, Cactus Jack, in his gimmick, he ran out in the street on Street Road, which is a
Okay.
heavily traveled road.
Right,
He's
Yeah.
standing in the middle of the road and waving to the cars, you know, in his gimmick. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
I think back on that, you know, this WWE icon, you know, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to ask you a question. You said Ben Salem. Does the name Fitting Golf ring a bell to you?
Just he's the guy that just him and you fight on the internet a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, we fight all
Yeah,
the time
other
on
than that,
Facebook.
no.
Yeah. All right. Well, his children, his boys went to Ben Salem High as well. Brian and Jason Fitting Off. And he lives now in like near Dresher. He lives in Dresher, but years ago he lived in Ben Salem, and he used to go. I met him, Jeannie and I, and he all met each other at our store that we had in the I-95 marketplace, our wrestling store, and we've been friends ever since. We've been friends, my God, it's like 40 years, maybe a little bit more. And you know, we've been family to each other like all that time. Like we, you know, helped raise each other's kids. It was crazy. But I always tease him. Obviously, we fight constantly, and we fight in person too. So if you're ever around us anywhere and I hit him or throw something at him, it's all in love. You know, and if he trips me and I fall, it's all in love. But he's a great guy, and he recently lost his son, so that was very difficult. But he's a good guy, and they have a history of that area. That's why I thought I'd ask you if you knew anything about them.
Speaking of Cactus Jack, I went to a luncheon that Joel had with him. He only had about 11 or 12 people, but it was very good.
Wow, that's
his
it.
Wife or his girlfriend at the time down with him.
Uh-huh.
He came about an hour late or something, but you know, think how far he's come.
Yeah,
I mean, and Joel had a lot to do with it. Joel really helped him out.
Yes, he did.
Dominic DeNucci trained him.
Yeah, he did. And it's funny, that's how I met Cactus Jack, was through Dominic DeNucci. And Joel has told me many times that he is the one who put all the zeros at the end of his paycheck for him that he has today. Rich, you were going to ask a question.
No, I was just going to say, did I ever tell you that Rich Fittinghoff and I lived around the corner from each other in Ben Salem?
No, I think you did. Yeah, I think you did. In Ben Salem?
I lived in Ben Salem for 5 years. And I met him at one of your Wrestling Radio events. And when we met each other, and it turned out that, you know, we were neighbors, and we may have hung out once or twice. I don't recall, but
wow, I'll have to ask him.
Yeah,
I'll probably talk to him this weekend anyway, so I'll ask him when I get around to it. That is crazy. That is really crazy.
World.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to clear something up that I had said on the podcast about Andre the Giant. The fact that I did not remember the exact dates that I dated him was because I remember nothing as far as numbers go. You know, we've already said that. Like I said, I barely remember what year I was born, let alone anything else. The other thing is that when Andre did the Jumbo Tsuruta thing in Japan, everybody pushes the fact, oh, Andre was drunk. That's why that happened. Andre was drunk. That's why that happened. Andre was buzzed, let's put it that way, many times during many matches. Maybe he was in that particular match, but Andre also, and I will go back and I will say this again, Andre also, no matter where he was, called his own shots. He and Jumbo had a disagreement. Whether he had been drinking or not is irrelevant. He and Jumbo had a disagreement, and he made him pay for it in the ring. I just want to clear this up. I don't lie in my life, let alone lie on a podcast. So I'm just letting that come out. I don't remember the truth. Okay. So I'm certainly not going to remember a lie. So I'm clearing that up for a personal reason. And I just wanted to say that. Rich, I think you know what the personal reason is, but I just needed to say that. But anyway, Chuck, you got a closer for us? Like one more big
Yeah,
story?
talking about Andre reminds me of an ECW story. I was there at
Okay.
the ECW arena one night, and I was talking to there's an African American security guard there. He's a big guy. He's about 6'6", maybe 350 pounds.
Wow.
And he used to work security there. In walks Larry Sharp and one of his students, the Giant, Paul White.
Okay.
And he's handing out leaflets, which Todd gave him permission to do. He was
Right.
telling everyone, Larry.
Right.
And Paul comes over and stands near me and the security guard, and the security guard goes to me, and I thought I was big.
Oh my God.
He's, security guard 6'6", 350.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Paul
he's
White's like
gigantic.
7 feet almost. Yeah. That's crazy.
He was a high school basketball player, White, and he
Yeah.
went to Wichita State, but he never
Yeah.
really panned out there. So he
And we
became a pro
talked about
wrestler.
him having the same acromegaly that Andre had.
Yeah.
And he did get the surgery for it, though. So God bless him. He actually had grown into a more normal state, as time went on. But listen, before we end this, because I don't want you to tell too many stories now, because we need you to come back. So,
There's plenty of them.
save those papers that you have written there. I'm trying to think of what I was going to ask you. Do you know any wrestlers personally now that you keep in touch with, or any people from the past that you keep in touch with a lot?
I have a few friends, not necessarily wrestlers, that I talk to.
Okay. From when you met over the years?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of
good.
I haven't seen her in a while, but I used to know Amy Lee Murray, lived right
Oh,
near
yeah. Yeah.
me.
I know her. I
Longtime
know her.
Amy Lee. Because I was
Yep.
living in Runnymede. She lived in Blackwood. I would, sometimes go over and watch pay-per-views at her house.
Oh, okay. And she's married to Art Barr, I think, isn't she?
No, Artie
Art
Palmer, I believe his
Yeah,
name
he was
is.
Art
Yeah.
Barr, I think, as a wrestler. Yeah, that's why I said that.
A good stand story with her. The day she debuted at Sterling High School in Somerdale, New Jersey.
Okay.
And Stan was at the card, and she was ready for him. She threw a bar of soap on a rope at him. Get a bath.
Oh my
You
God.
stink.
Oh my God.
He
But
was ready for him.
what a sweet man he was, though, wasn't he, though, Chuck? He was a doll.
I never liked her.
Who, Amy?
For that reason, yeah, I can't stand her.
But Stan, I loved him when we saw him at Joel's
Oh,
show.
Stan, I love.
Yeah.
Stan, yes, no.
When he was at Joel's show on May 3rd,
Yeah.
and he remembered us like there was no question at all. He was like, oh my God, he was, and God bless him, he passed away shortly after that. But
Yeah.
it was so good seeing him again. It was like refreshing. It was like a blast from the past, like big time. I loved him. I love Stan. Stan had his quirks. We all do. Okay. But Stan was the guy. He was the guy. There was in Philadelphia, mostly at the arena and then at the Spectrum in the front row, right, Jeannie? There was that group. There was Stan, his mother. There was Rich. Remember Rich Mershon? With
was
the
he the
glasses?
guy with the cowboy hat?
No, that was Bill. That was Bailey. The
Oh,
cowboy
okay.
hat. Rich was the heavier guy with the glasses. They looked a little bit like mine, but he always wore the Hawaiian shirt too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It was two of them wore Hawaiian shirts. Bailey
Yeah,
had
the guy
cowboy
with the hat,
right?
white shirt,
And then Rich,
yeah,
and there was like a bunch of them that were always in that front row, like all the time. And they were like making such a scene all the time. It was great. And I loved it. And of course, my mother was somewhere back there in a corner. But Chuck, I got to thank you. Like, I got to thank you so much for you being here. This has been one of the best podcasts that I enjoyed doing so much, because this brought back so many memories, things that all four of us could share, things that all four of us remember, things that, like, to somebody else, it might not be a whole lot, but to me anyway, it is amazing. It brings back such memories. Jeannie just disappeared again. She does.
I know. I'm here. I
she
see
does
you.
this at least once a podcast.
The internet or whatever just flashed and everything went dark, and then it came back up, and I'm
That's
dark.
funny
But I can
because
see and hear you. My camera's on. The green light's
It happened.
on.
It happened last time, I think, around the
Yeah.
same time. I think when you go an hour and 15 minutes or so, it crashes a little bit, I think. But
Maybe.
in any event, I want to thank you so much. Do you want me to send you the link for the
Yes.
show, or could you please subscribe to it?
Yeah, I get on it because I go on to the Facebook site.
All right. Well, I'll send it to you. If you go on it and you see it, there's a button that says subscribe, and please subscribe to it, share it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
Rich, again, I love you dearly. We will be in touch as always. Okay. And keep in touch. Jeannie, you have your book there. I believe next week is Wahoo McDaniel's Widow. I said that for Chuck and I was wrong.
You're wrong. Next Thursday I have written down for Joel.
That's Goodhart. Right. It's the end of May. Joel and Ryan. We're going to have Ryan Cavanaugh and Joel Goodhart because he's going to promote his documentary. Now, do you see there's proof positive? It's my podcast, and I don't remember what I have down there. So there you go. But anyway, Jeannie, and I love you dearly very much. I'm so glad that everything happened well with your procedure, with the removal of the stent, and that you're feeling better. Yes. And I love you most. And I will talk to you all in a minute. I'm going to end this podcast and then I'll be right back. Okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye.